A baby that we are convinced that is going to make its place in this wild west of the smart cities. What is the City Protocol Society? A couple of years ago, 2 or 3 friends from Barcelona had the idea to bring the best of the 2 worlds of one of 2 of the best inventions of humankind together. And these 2 inventions of the humankind I'm talking about are cities, which by far are one of the best technological inventions of humankind. Very, very few cities in history have disappeared. Cities have something which probably can be measured that make them sustainable and are the oldest organizations in the world. Last week I was in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is more than 3,000 years old, more than any other organization of human organization or living being. And one of the other great inventions of humankind is the internet. The internet has changed almost everything in our society in the last 20, 30 years. And we believe it has changed it because it comes out from collaboration, from working together, from sharing, not from being only, which is important, competitive, good at what you do. The old computers before the internet were very good, but they didn't talk to each other. And that was another world. Now it seems like a prehistory. Now every gadget talks to each other thanks to the protocols of the internet. And that's the key word, protocol. The internet, nobody runs the internet, but the miracle of the internet is possible because somebody builds protocols that are shared by every company, every organization in the world, so that the different gadgets allow us, we humans, to communicate. We thought that this effort that has names, and Francesc, Giralt, I will introduce my 2 colleagues here. Francesc, Giralt will talk about that. This idea of how the protocols of the internet are built, which are built by a real community of real people, which is called the Internet Engineering Task Force, covered by an umbrella organization called the Internet Society. I say we believe that this would also be possible to be applied to the nascent, to this yet a bit fuzzy world of smart cities. So we decided to open this idea to a bigger community. Last July 2012, we opened this idea to a community of 200 people from nearly 100 different organizations, many cities out of them, but also people from academia. Some of them are represented here, people from companies. And it seemed that the idea made sense. And since then, July 2012 till October 2013, it has taken its time because we have constituted a formal organization which, taking example from the internet, we call it the City Protocol Society, is already in place. It has bylaws. You can go to cityprotocol.org and you will see all the activity, all the documents that have been generated up so far. And it has a board of directors. I have the honor, the privilege of having been elected the first, I hope that soon there will be others, the first president of the society. As of today, it has on the order of 30 members, among them big ones from cities like Barcelona, like Amsterdam, like Quito, like Moscow, like Genoa, like Dublin, and many others that are on the line for joining. Big companies like Microsoft, like Schneider, like Gaz de France, and also smaller companies like City Senate and others that believe in the idea. Academia is there. And now I will pass the word to my colleague, Francesc Giralt, who will talk you where do we go from here. First of all, let me introduce them. Francesc Giralt is a professor at the University Rovira Virgili in Catalonia, and he has been working with us in the generation of this society. He's responsible for many of the documents that have been elaborated so far, consensual documents of a community of more than 30 people that we called the Internet Steering Committee. Some of them are here, and these people have been possible that the society was born. And then we have also Francesco Oddone. He represents one of the cities that believe in the idea. The idea is no longer a Barcelona idea. The idea is in the world. The idea is in the society. And Genoa believed from day one. And he will talk about, Francesc will talk about where do we go from here. Francesco will talk about an important idea of the society, which is having local chapters, having local organizations that recognize themselves in the society, but that have activity locally. Because there are many initiatives in the world, local initiatives, that we believe that can be fostered, that can be supported from the global society, but also this global society take the energy out of this local initiative. So I pass the word to my colleague, Francesc.
Thank you, Manel. Can I have the presentation, please? Thank you. So, good morning to everybody. This morning I will try to summarize in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, one of the most important activities of the City Protocol Society, which is the delivery of documents of agreements. And this is done within the framework of a task force. So I will convey to you the methodology that we have designed to make our contributions possible. Manel already mentioned it, but let me emphasize that the City Protocol Society is an international association registered as a California non-profit corporation. Well, picking up from Manel's introduction, we have mimicked somehow the Internet Society. The Internet Society is a global organization dedicated to ensure that the Internet stays open and so on. To accomplish this, it has created the Engineering Task Force, which is an organized non-commercial activity organization of the Internet Society that is in charge of develop the Internet protocol or the protocol of the society. As an analogy, the City Protocol Society is, and this is very important, a delivery focus. We do not exist to discuss, to create forums, but to deliver. So delivery focus. Global. Global in both sense, geographically and also from a sector point of view. We want to incorporate all the stakeholders involved in city transformations. And which are those? Cities, commercial and non-profit organizations, academic and research institutions that are dedicated, that will be dedicated in this global organization and focus to develop approaches and solutions documented as agreements so it can be used, can be replicated, can be improved with time to help cities build a sustainable future. So this is a schematic of how we are going to accomplish this through the task force, which is an open community made of individuals pertaining to member organizations and to non-member organizations, who will volunteer to work together to develop those agreements. So we have the city at the top. The goal is the city transformation by putting together a trusted cross-sector partnership of all the stakeholders, organizations that should be involved in the city transformation, develop a network, peer-to-peer networking, but the most important, at the basis, at the fundamental of this organization are the task and finish teams. And we have chosen this name to make sure that we convey the idea that we will build a task and finish team to handle, to study, to deliver an agreement that will start the work, complete it, and deliver. It will not something that will last forever, 6 months, 9 months, 2 months, 1 year to deliver. So very focused teams. Those teams, and I have started from the end. You will see that I have adopted in this presentation an end-of-pipe approach. So I will end with the end of the pipe and move upstream until we reach the task force and the society. So those teams, task and finish teams, are going to be active in principle, 8 thematic areas. So we propose to work in 8 thematic areas. In the environment, infrastructure of the city, the build domain, the public space, understood as a relational space, functions or services, if you prefer, people, information flows, and performance. Well, there are descriptors of one of each thematic area. I don't think I should go over those because this is quite obvious. And why would you ask yourself, we have picked up these 8 thematic areas which belong to 3 large systems: structure of a city, society, and data, or information if you want. We have selected those 8 areas because we have adopted, initially, the idea developed by Vicente Guayar of the city anatomy. And the city anatomy considers these 2 systems, structure and society, with several subsystems: the environment, the infrastructure, the build domain, the public space, the functions and services, people, explicit information, and you can see here financing, laws, etc., open data, and so on. And also, there is a level of tacit knowledge, tacit information that is very difficult to quantify, that is related to culture, that is related to behavior, how we behave. Obviously, it has a relationship with history, and it has a relationship with climate. So more or less, we come back to the environment. Or you can look at the city to explain the genesis of the thematic areas as a systems approach, as a system of systems and interactions. Because the city is a system of systems and interactions, like in systems biology. You cannot understand biology by just looking at one protein. You have to look at all the proteomics. So you have to take a systems approach to understand a city and to be able to define a strategy to transform it in an efficient way to deliver what you are supposed to deliver in this transformation. So this would be a different way of looking at the city anatomy, a system of systems of interactions. Okay, so we have task and finish teams that will deliver agreements, working in 8 thematic areas, and in order to build these task and finish teams, they have to submit a charter. And a charter is composed of a summary, the date that it has been submitted, the title, for instance, in this case, is a charter, proposed charter that has already been proposed and that will engage people. So we are also going to document the process of engaging cities, commercial organizations, non-profit academic organizations. This is part of the process in the task force. Environmental assessment methodologies apply to districts operations, development and refurbishment. It's called IAMADO. It implies thematic areas 2 and 3. There is a responsible person, a leader. I have obviated the email for obvious reasons. The duration of this task and finish teams is 6 months. It will deliver an agreement that is a proposed recommendation, a PR. The deliverable will be a methodological guide, and we are at the level of 0.4, which is at the level of engaging people in this effort. The charter has a summary, a problem statement, a relationship with other TAFTs, exit strategy, current activities, objectives, task deliverables and planning, description of expected participants, list of initial participants, and also 7 questions that have to be fulfilled to make sure that is a focus team. And these questions are, is the scope of the proposed team sufficiently focused, and so on. Well, you have those in the web, so I am going to move forward. So we already have thematic areas, task and finish teams, and a charter. And this process, how it starts? It starts through a collaborative platform of the City Protocol Task Force website. On the left, you have a menu. This is, by the way, is an active, you can check it now. is an active collaborative platform. What is the City Protocol Task Force? Task and finish teams are working drafts. The type of agreements that we are going to deliver, informational, propose recommendations and recommendations, all the IPR policy, because there may be intellectual property rights of participants that have to be declared unprotected. This is very critical because we have also commercial organizations and cities that somehow have technology also that can be proprietary. Resources, meetings, technical steering committee, news, etc. So here you have in the start page the organizational documents that made possible the City Protocol Society and the task force, and some related links. Now, if you activate at the menu the task and finish teams option, you will get into this self-management task and finish teams, which is all the active tasks right now, which is the anatomy of city habitat, environmental assessment methodology that I already mentioned, building information model for cities, some that have been proposed, like city evaluation framework, urban fabrics and patterns, open data interoperability and city ontology, and so on. In order to submit a task and finish team, either a member institution or somebody that thinks, any one of you here that are attending this meeting, that thinks that has a great idea to transform a city or to make a process involving a city more efficient or to reach the population more easily and so on, well, you log in, you register, it's free, and you can submit a task and finish team. Obviously, all the members, organizations will get an alarm that this has been submitted. Anybody can check it that is a member, and then you can say, I want to join, I don't want to join. And ultimately, all the task and finish teams will have their own web page within this collaborative platform. So there is no need to build another resource. The resource will be extendable. If there are 100 task and finish teams active, there will be 100 collaborative sites active for these 100 task and finish teams. So it is a self-managed and replicated. And obviously it can be customized. The person responsible of the task and finish team will be the person responsible to manage the collaborative platform of the corresponding tasks to accomplish the objectives that have been set up in the charter within the time period of 6 months, 8 months, 2 months. Is that clear? If there are any questions, you can interrupt me. I have no problem. So we have a thematic areas, task and finish teams, a collaborative platform, a process of engaging members and non-members, because at the level of the task force, there is no need to be a member to collaborate and to contribute. Anybody can collaborate and contribute. Then we have to place this within the City Protocol Task Force. So these task and finish teams do not operate by free. Obviously, you have already seen a collaborative platform. They are related to a technical steering committee that will approve the charters and will oversee, follow the evolution of the work that is proposed, so that if corrective actions have to be applied, they are applied. This technical steering committee is formed by a chair that will direct all the operations, a chief architect, thematic area directors, and experts nominated by the General Assembly. The General Assembly is a part of the governing bodies of the society. So you have here at the top the society, and at the bottom the City Protocol Task Force. So you have thematic areas and task and finish teams delivering, proposing agreements. Now, the Technical Steering Committee is the link with the society. The society is only for institutions, so it's a membership-based organization and is only open to institutions, not to individuals. This is a clear separation between the task force and the society. It is formed by cities, commercial, non-profit, universities, and so on. It is formed by a General Assembly. All the members are part of the General Assembly. A board of directors that Manel just explained. Currently, we have an initial board of directors formed by 7 members, 3 cities, the city of Quito, the city of Amsterdam, and the city of Barcelona, represented by the CIO and president here in this session. 2 companies, Cisco and GDF Suez. and 2 academic institutions, the Computing Center of the University of Chicago Argonne National Laboratories in the US, and the New York Academy of Sciences in New York. This is the inaugural board that will extend to 17 members, from 7 to 17 in 1 year, when the society reaches the critical mass. Because right now we are 20 members, founding members, and we are planning and already start growing, so we have to attain this critical mass. So now we have already set in place the task force, open to any institution or individuals that are not members, and also I already begin to show to you the chapters. And here I would like to make a clear point that even though we have a lot of similarities with the Internet society, we also have differences. Because in the City Protocol Society and in the City Protocol Task Force, things will not happen if they are not led by cities and interest cities. And this is a world that is very diverse because cities encompass problems from social problems to high-tech problems. So we have a wide range of issues that we can handle and that we are interested in. And also there is a large diversity in cities in the world. Culture, scales, level of development, new cities being planned in India, 10 cities, new cities, brand new cities are being planned for the next 5 years. In China, every year there are new cities appearing. So there is a lot of topologies and typologies related to city development. So even though the task force, we are planning to establish a bottom-up process to trigger, to foster, to steward credibility and creativity, because we need both, there has to be also a directive, top-down approach of the cities involved as members, because they have a leading role in suggesting, in leading, and in making these things happen and possible. We are not planning to develop papers that lie on a shelf in a nice library. We are planning to make these things operational. So we are also thinking of establishing a knowledge platform. And a knowledge platform, there are many that exist, but ultimately, since knowledge only rests on people, information can rest in a book or in a document. But knowledge, according to Piaget, and we know that, is in our head and is constructivist, it involves people. So ultimately, members in these networking will have to provide also this human touch of providing the knowledge through people acting and collaborating and working together in implementing solutions in other cities, in other situations, that will, at the end, feed back into the original ideas. So now you have an idea of the complexity, but also of the fantastic opportunity that we are facing. Because there are many associations that are necessary of cities, of companies involved in cities, but as far as we know, there is none in the world right now, except City Protocol Society, that tries to put together all the stakeholders right from the beginning, right from the base, in developing new solutions, new strategies to transform the world. Transform the world because most of the people live in cities. So if we transform the cities, we are ultimately transform the world without borders, without political barriers, and with a sense of proximity that the states cannot provide. So this looks very complicated. I will just go over very quickly. So we have leading institutions that form the society, but also individuals that will form a task and finish team, let's say task and finish team number 1, like the one that I just showed you, that will develop a draft that will be approved. Is a working draft, a city protocol working draft. The I means informational, in this case, is an informational. It provides information, background information. Then it is examined by the Technical Steering Committee, and if approved, after several feedbacks and negotiations, it will be a city protocol informational document, agreement. Also, we can suggest a proposed recommendation that will be a working draft of a proposed recommendation that ultimately, when negotiated and approved by the Technical Steering Committee and the Board of Directors represented here by Manel Sanromà, it will become a proposed recommendation. Why a proposed recommendation? Because a task and finish team has a limited size of cities and of companies. So it will be checked at a certain level, at certain scales. In order to be a recommendation, it has to show robustness at many scales and in other situations than on those initially studied. So other cities, see if it is global, if it is not global, assess the limitations and also the strengths of the proposed recommendations. When this is done, it will generate another informational agreement stating how it has been checked and works in other environments, in other cities, and then it will become a recommendation. It is very simple, it's very difficult, but it's very simple. So things have to be clear. This is informational, this is informational. This is a recommendation that will be effective in a transformation. Fine, it has been checked in 5 cities, it's a proposed recommendation. It has been checked in 20 cities, in 100 cities, in 10 neighborhoods, then it can become a recommendation. Well, Manel mentioned the umbrella. And since he keeps mentioning the umbrella, I decided that I should represent an umbrella. So here you have the City Protocol Society that delivers agreements, is an umbrella. And then you have the City Protocol Task Force that interacts with the world, with the global world. And it is very important to realize that this collaborative space is a non-commercial space. The City Protocol Society and the City Protocol Task Force are open. We'll develop protocols in the form of agreements that can be adopted by companies to make business outside of the society, not in the society. The commercial opportunities, the commercial space is outside. And the task force will provide ideas, feedbacks, back and forth, data, but also through the society information, guidelines, and recommendations. Obviously, we need expertise, people, and information from the world of cities. And let me tell you right now that we are looking for a chair of the task force, somebody that can make out of this position his career, to make an impact in the world of city transformation by organizing the task force. We are also looking for thematic area directors. So we will announce those and describe the jobs. So please keep that in mind if you are interested, because we are not only interested in membership, we are interested in participation, in having the task force operational and moving very fast. Well, the organization is typical. We have a strategy, an operations layer, and a governance layer. Everything directed to have a task force operational and develop agreements. The key activities are outcome focused, forward-looking, game-changing, collaborative, and transformational. We all collaborate. What we propose is a collaboration at a level that will require to document the processes, because we have companies that have interests, we have cities, different levels of development, different scales. So we will grease up the machine as it is working. Well, the general objective. So I started by the end, and I start from the beginning. The task force, the umbrella, the society. Well, we want to develop the city protocol, which is a systems approach, I repeat, to rationalize on a shared basis cities transformation. And it has to be multi-city, multi-partner, and if possible, scale-free. It is nice because in complex systems, cities are complex systems, and the cities of cities is even a more complex system. Generally, it relaxes, and we can find common scales at all levels. So there are possibilities of scaling well complex systems. We know scientists know that very well. So establish the task force. We are in this process. Capture city transformation as a series of agreements. We are not yet there, but we will be in 2 months. We want to facilitate the responsible transformation of cities by accelerating city-to-city learning. If there is no learning, we go nowhere. Life is a learning process. Only living systems can evolve and learn, by adapting, adaptive intelligence. So we need a knowledge platform that ultimately will involve people. I now mentioned that we are a global community And since we realize that the world, in this cultural basis that I show you in the city anatomy, culture, tacit knowledge, tacit information, chapters can play an important role. These are local organizations. The deputy mayor of the Comune of Genoa will explain to you their initiatives. They have already started working in this direction. So we are active at all levels, as you can see. Not yet delivering, but already active. And we want to guide the advancement of an economy of urban innovation. Obviously promoting a culture of resource use efficiency, self-sufficiency. We like better the word self-sufficiency than sustainability, because we can measure better self-sufficiency than sustainability, and social and economic progress in cities. Otherwise, we will not succeed. So, I come back to here because our process is transformational. Adopt, adapt, and implement transformations. If it is not transformational, it is not city protocol. We will build and maintain a public repository of documents, and it is very important, this point. We will adopt and complement work done by other organizations. So we publish to establish partnerships with any existing, we are in fact doing that right now, associations that have the same goal, with different specific objectives, but the same overall goal of facilitating city transformations and city learning. So we plan to collaborate with all of those and adopt and adapt whatever reference document and guideline they have produced. And this is the network I already proposed. So some of you may ask, why my institution has to become a member? Well, this thing becomes obvious because if you can work at the City Protocol Task Force, what is the need to become a member? Well, if you want to contribute, become a volunteer, but not have the type of leadership that members have, then it is fine. You don't have to become a member. But if you are a city that want to collaborate in your city transformation, collaborate with others in setting 20, 30-year objectives, and so on, then becoming a member is important. Not only because you will decide how the whole society and task force is operating, but also to lead specific problems with the support of the Secretariat and all of the machinery. And the Secretariat is very trim, is a tree with very few branches. We do not plan to become bureaucratic. We want to be very simple. Make the City Protocol Task Force events, society events, meeting the General Assembly, making people collaborating, spending the money where our goals are, where our core values and business is, city transformation in the task force. So the Secretariat will provide support, relationship to all the members at a completely different level than if you act as on a voluntary basis as an individual. We will also support and inform you. You will be perfectly informed, but it's a different level. So by becoming a member, you will be part of this cyclic, life is cyclic. Sometimes you occupy spaces that you realize that you have been before, but you don't know exactly when, and spirally. So if you become a member, you will become part of this opportunity and make it possible. Principles and values. Well, I was just mentioned that we have signed the Open Stamp Principles as an organization, and these are egalitarianism, community and collaboration, innovation and creativity, and so on. You can enter the web of the Open Stamp Principles and read all of them. How we create value? Through processes and documents, and you have to realize that there is a novelty because this is a city-led global community working together with cities, with commercial organizations and so on that did not exist. Complete accessibility is open, ready, user-ready, usability. We have to assure that if anybody wants to implement a solution, can do it easily. Scalability, from local to global, from global to local, bottom-up, top-down, chapters helping, and I left to the end the risk and cost reduction that always is involved when you establish a collaboration that is fruitful and set on grounds of efficiency and of sharing results and implementing things together. Also, we provide leverage. Circumventing institutional barriers. If something works in a continent, can work in another, and be implemented via chapters and so on, legitimacy. We want to go beyond a 2-day tour. If I take the example of the city of Barcelona gets at an average of, Manel, 2 to 3 visits of other cities per week. So between up to 150 visits, tours, 2-day tours of cities visiting Barcelona a year. It's not negligible if you look at the effort that this involves. Communication, balancing public and private. New role for the private sector, they already know that. They have to look beyond and acting beyond intermediate interest. If they want to make business, they have to be part of the open system. Otherwise, they will not, their business, obviously through the City Protocol Society, if you scale up, perhaps the amount of business will decrease, but also you will have more customers. The market is much larger and much easily implemented. Examples can be copied and implemented. Bargaining power, market stimulant, affordability and accessibility, and one city reality. So cities are becoming a system of cities. This is a global community, and we will talk about chapters right now. So I will finalize first by saying, check the City Protocol webpage. Here you have it. A snapshot of today's home. You can get involved. You can join the CPS. All the information is there, membership fees, everything. Or you can join the City Protocol Task Force by participating, submitting in a TAFT or participating in a TAFT. Here is the website of the City Protocol Task Force. And I am pleased to introduce Francesco Oddone, the Deputy Mayor of the Comune of Genoa, that will explain to us the experience that you are undergoing in relating to cities and establishing what is the embryo, the genesis of the Italian chapter.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and well, thank you for this opportunity. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here, and thanks to Cesc for this very thorough and articulate presentation. I have understood a couple things more than before, so that's already the trip worth the trip. And thank you very much to Manel for this very inspiring introduction. Now, as Manel was mentioning, Genoa has been on board right away on this process, because we not only we believe in the, let's say, in the philosophy, in the underlying philosophy, and I'll come back to that a little bit later, but also because not only the vision, but also the organizational principles are quite aligned with what we experienced in our own construction of our smart city organization back in the last 3 years. Just a brief recap on this. Genoa started around 2010 to work on a smart city, let's call it internal protocol if we want. And what's happened is that the idea has been to set up an organization, which is an association in our case, the Associazione Genoa Smart City, which really includes in our boundaries the same actors that are present here, meaning we have, of course, institutions led by the city of Genoa, and most specifically by the mayor, who is the president of this association. We have other institutions, like in our case, the region, the port authority, and so on. We have research institutes, starting with the university, but also with the Italian Institute of Technology, which is in Genoa itself. And then, of course, small and big economic players. We have some that are there from the start. Just to mention one of the most important with whom we are here also, which is Selex ES from the Finmeccanica group, which helps us also understand the dynamics and put in place these things. And of course, and then we are starting to also attack the civil society part, never as individuals. So this is also something that relates to this, but as civil society organizations, basically. So we are very much aligned with what's happening here, and the principles of tight collaboration with other cities for all the reasons that have been briefly explained is what has led us in the last year to tighten relationships in order to exchange experiences, to provide, well, best practices to each other with cities that are in our, let's say, in our regional area. We have signed in the spring of 2013 a memorandum of understanding with Torino and Milano. So now there is this triangle in the northern of Italy, which sees three historically important cities with very different, let's say, configurations. We have Milano, which, as we know, and we are present here together with a stand at the exhibition, and that's how we would like to present ourselves also to the world. We have Milano, which is working very much on everything that leads up to Expo 2015, this big world exhibition. We have Torino, which is very much after its old industrial past, working toward innovation and new technologies. And we have Genoa, which differently with those two, being also a little smaller, has the unique feature of being a Mediterranean harbor, and therefore having, like Barcelona, for instance, these particularities. So basically, we without having also already these tools, we have started working toward that process of collaborations, because there were just a few let's say bullet points that were mentioned before, like this city-to-city learning process, which is exactly what we think is absolutely fundamental here. And also this peer-to-peer network, which we started to create in very small format, which is what once, thanks to our staff, which is very attentive to these developments, once we saw that something bigger was brewing, we said we have to be part of it. And we want to be part of it, and not just as observers or let's say partners who have access to what's being produced, but we want to be actively involved. And for instance, what I was seeing, these task and finish teams. Now, I was already thinking that we would be very pleased to take a leading role in one of those. Well, the governance part, the participation, the involvement part of the population being an institution. That's what would come mostly to our institutional bearings. So basically, this is something that is very much present there. Now, having had this own experience, we have started to sensibilize other cities and to push other cities to work in this cooperative fashion. We have started to do this through the association of the ANCI, the National Association of Italian Communes, and therefore of Italian towns, where an observatory on the smart city has already taken place. But this is not the same thing as having something more stable and more organized. And therefore, we definitely, being also, and proudly so, the first and until now only Italian town in this very prestigious contest, we would really like, and we are working toward building the Italian chapter on this. Now, this can, of course, this would, in our view, start with this triangle I was mentioning to you before, and my mayor is setting up a communication to other mayors through this channel in order to spruce up interest. Now, I don't think this is going to be a hard task, the interest part, because, for instance, just last week, we have signed a protocol to obtain, because this is not a secondary interest, of course, of cities, especially in a very difficult overall economic context, as you know. We work also in order to obtain and to secure funds at the European and at the national level too. We have signed a protocol with Naples and other smaller cities to work towards this. And therefore there is very much interest, and we really think that within not that long a time we will be able to set up the Italian chapter and therefore be an active contributor to all this process. Thank you.
Sí, que sí, yo he dicho que sí.
10 minutes for discussion.
¿Cómo se publica? Para que la gente lo encuentre.
I think that it's no surprise that Italy is leading the way of chapters. Before Italy was born, cities were there. Italy is a network of cities. So there are many cities, there are many interests, there are many constituencies, and we are sure that the experimentation that is going on with the creation of the Italian chapter will be excellent for both sides, for both the smart cities movement in Italy and for the society. There are other chapters popping up in Colombia, for instance, in Catalonia, in the east coast of the United States, even in China. So we believe that we have started a movement that will produce its effects. As Francesc said, the most important part of it is to deliver. The society is in place. It is no longer, the idea was born in Barcelona, but that's it. That is a part of the world, but the decision is by the society. So what is and what is not city protocol, and what is worth and what is not worth. Cities will be there, companies will be there, the organizations will be there. So we think that this is a huge opportunity for all of us that believe in a future for cities. Open for discussion. We only have 10 minutes left because we have to leave the place for other sessions. Yes, please. Nice. Do we have a microphone here or not? Well, it doesn't seem. Yes, go ahead.
Let me stand up.
Sorry?
It's coming.
Oh, okay, yes.
Ask him to see who he is.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Yep. So, my name is Jonathan. I'm from a nonprofit organization based in Canada. We work with a lot of different governments at the municipal, provincial, state, and then federal level to do a number of things, including data standards. And so when I think protocols, I think data standards. We're specifically working on one now for roadwork data in conjunction with about 5 or 6 cities and a few different state governments in North America called Open 511. So very similar to Open 311, but for roadwork data. And so we've seen a bit how hard it is to create protocols that cities adopt. When I say protocols, I mean technical standards like Open 311. And Open 311 itself, which for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is to report potholes and different civic issues, mostly infrastructure related. Just managing that standard has been a nightmare, and it has not gone very well at all. The one standard that's been moderately successful is the GTFS standard for transit data that Google created, and a large reason why I think it was successful was because Google was pushing it very aggressively and was managing it, and they didn't have the bureaucratic infrastructure that a lot of standards bodies have. And so I come from the startup world, and when I see slides like that, I get really scared, but maybe that's just me. And so I was wondering specifically, how is the City Protocol Society going to work on data standards? Do you have financing to fund things like Open 311, Open 511, GTFS? Because currently they're being managed by corporations mostly. Google, Yelp has one for health inspections in restaurants, which is obviously a big issue in cities. And so a lot of these standards are currently being managed by corporations because no one like yourselves have been doing it. So is there a plan to manage those kinds of standards?
Yeah, we have willingly avoided the word standard so far. I think it's the first time in this meeting that the word standard comes up. Of course, we would love to work on standards, but we are not so pretentious or ambitious. So we talk about recommendations, but of course we will be willing to work with those organizations that are working on standards. It is not our primary, say, objective. Of course, in the long term, it will be nice because we are talking of protocols, and protocols are de facto standards. But we plan, from the society point of view, to work with those organizations that are already working, try to identify those that are really worth to work with, and try to incorporate them, work with them. Incorporate them doesn't mean to make them a part of it. We are talking about a network. The City Protocol Society does not want to reinvent the wheel. So if the wheel has already been invented, we will try to identify it and tell the world that the wheel is already there. So, but of course, the word standard is scary, and we have not used it. We have talked about openness, this for sure. It has to come bottom up because otherwise it doesn't make sense. But of course, we plan to work with standard organizations and with communities that are already doing a good job, and that we humbly may collaborate with them and make their work worldwide. So this is our approach. Yes? Yes, please, here. Okay, there is another word. Okay, after that, yes.
Yeah. Hello, this is Arturo Serra from I2CAT Foundation. Hello. Don't remember the rough consensus and working code, the principle of the Internet Engineering Task Force. My question is, where is the ARPANET of the city protocol? Because if not, the discussion about the standards will be eternal. We need a commitment of the cities that as soon as a protocol is approved, they test us in the city. This is the ARPANET. We need a practical place where we test it if this protocol works or not. That means that the protocol society needs an ARPANET. Some places, some cities that are committed to prove that the protocols are working.
Yeah, I mean, the rough consensus of working code motto made famous by the Internet Engineering Task Force is the spirit, if not the letter, is in the open stand agreement of different societies that we completely support, and we will work with that philosophy. The idea of the documents that we want to deliver is that they become recommendations when many cities have adopted that view, not because a bunch of professionals, good-willing professionals, think that that is the way. That is the way. Cities have the last word, and in that sense, of course, we will work with cities, with our members and not members, so that foster that they implement what the city protocol is delivering. So in that sense, you know that we agree completely. And of course, we need many things. We are starting. Don't ask a baby of 18 days to solve all the problems of cities. Help the baby and help other babies too. So yes.
Here you have.
Giorgio
Here
Pista.
you have the rough consensus.
And if you go to openstand.org, is there, because it's the spirit of the internet. Yes, Giorgio.
Giorgio Pista, Major Cities of Europe. By the way, just a remark, I'm very pleased about the Association of Cities in Italy that are working together, because differently from what you think, Italy is a nation of communes which fight against each other. But anyway, now it's becoming more...
They were over there.
Anyway, my question, you already answered the question just now, because I was really asking to myself, you compare this to the Internet Protocol Society, which is delivering something to everybody in the world. Of course, the ambition here is a little bit lower, I suppose, but what my real question is, what not as a strategy, but as a vision you want to deliver to the cities. So you answered already, more or less, I understand better. So it means that what you're going to deliver is going to be marketed. Marketed is the wrong word. Communicated widely.
Of course. It's basic. Every document delivered by the society will be published openly on the web, and so it will be available to everyone.
Communicated. I mean, this is...
Disseminated.
Disseminated. We'll do our best. Thank you. We'll do our best. If it is not open, it's not city protocol. Yes, and we believe that in the future, so hopefully not too far future, industry can also build on top of that. On
and
top
what
of
is
those,
the time frame in which you believe that there will be values to be delivered? I mean, you mentioned 6 months in one of these, but is it?
The baby starts to walk after 1 year, and in 2 years it starts to talk, and in 3 years it's a full person maybe. I don't know.
Manel.
Yes. Sorry?
Thank you. Create a top network for education.
Okay. Yes.
Sí. José Luis Soria from Infrastructure Company. Have you taken into account that in the city protocol, all the cities not exactly the same? Due to the nature of the cities, some of them, they are focused more to industrial areas, commercial areas, different tourism. Has it been taken into account? Because all the cities, they have their peculiarities, and the city protocol should be the umbrella, or maybe in a general way. But probably, some of the cities, they would decide by themselves to move to some other directions, or the business that's been in the city. Though the city are for the citizens, they're also citizens, the companies that are involved in. Thank you.
What binds us together is the anatomy. We believe that all the cities share an anatomy, share a metabolism, call it problems, call it basic infrastructures, that no matter the scale, all of them share, all of them have transportation, all of them have information, all of them have water management, etc. So this is what binds us together. And as people that all are different, and some decide to be good sportsmen or sportwomen, and others decide to be scientists, and others decide to be priests or whatever. So every city decides on its own, but it shares, no matter what he or she decides, it shares an anatomy, it shares a physiology, and that's what binds us together as a city protocol. So being a member of the City Protocol Society does not mean that you share a vision of smart cities in one direction or another. It means that you share values, you share the approach of working with different constituencies. We share very, Francesc has put many things, but in fact you share very few values, but important values.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Perhaps we could ask the question, how many urban patterns do exist in the world? Neighborhoods, districts? In reality, patterns, fabrics. Well, this is something that there is a proposal to study this, because patterns are scale resistant, or more scale resistant than the overall concept of a city. So if you look at one of the proposed UFAP, Task and Finish team deals with this, urban fabrics and patterns. This is related to what you suggested. So deal with complexity in ways that you can explain it, not compartmented, because this is a globality, it's a holistic system, but...
More questions? No more questions, so we finish on time. Thank you very much. Join the City Protocol Society.